Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial. And right now what we are going to do is we are going to take a look at some of the more advanced usage of the requests library. Now we are going to take a look at cookies, session objects, now requests, posting different authentication protocols, and so on and so on. What we did in the previous tutorials is we took a look at some of the simple things we can do with the request library, such as performing the simple get or post request. We also took a look at the usage of beautiful soup while parsing the HTML data and selecting different elements of the HTML data. And also we took a look at the web browser module, which allows us to actually use the open function to run our web browser. Okay, so right now let us start off with the session objects. First of all, open up your idle right here. Let's wait for it to start up, enlarge this, and import requests as usual. So import requests. We imported requests, and let us first of all talk about session objects. Okay, so basically the session object allows you to persist certain parameters across requests. It also persists cookies across all requests made from the session instance. And basically, we're going to use the urllib3 connection pooling in order to perform the session object. So if you're making several requests to the same host, the underlying TCP connection will be reused, which can result in a significant performance increase. Basically, with the session object, we allow us for a certain user to persist its connection with a browser or with a different website. Basically, it also allows the browser and the actual website to remember the information about the specific user, such as, for example, username, password, basically anything like that, we can set with this session. Okay, that's why once you refresh the page, you're not logged out of the actual account of yours because of the help of session and cookies. Okay, so right now, in order to actually create a session, we need to create a variable. For example, let's call it s. The variable s will be equal to requests.session. Now the s is capital in session, so make sure to actually write it correctly. And right now we are going to perform the get request to the same actual page that we did before, which is the http://bin.org. Okay, so in order to do that, we can simply just type s.get, and in between the brackets we'll specify https http://bin.org/cookies. Now we are accessing different directories right now, /set, and then /session cookie, and one last slash, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is basically the directory in the HTTP website which allows us to perform this. Let's press here enter. You will see that we get the response 200, which means that the actual request was okay and it managed to go through. And right now we will get the basic result, which is going to be equal. So r equals s.get, and all we're going to get is the same part of this actual path. So just select from the HTTPS to the cookies, copy this, paste it right here. Now let me just delete the last slash, we don't really need it. Whoops. Yeah, let us redo that because I've managed to somehow mistype this. It was supposed to go in between the single quotes. So r equals s.get. Let us just type it, https://http://bin.org/cookies. Press here enter, and basically if you just simply print r.text, you will see cookies session cookie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is basically what we set with this command right here. So if you copy this command, let me just show you, copy it, change this to, for example, hello world, press here enter, we get the response 200. We set the session for us to be named as the hello world, which is the ID of our session right now. And if we simply just perform the get requests, so s.get to the same page, https://http://bin.org/cookies, press here enter, and print once again our.text, you will see that right now the session cookie has been changed to hello world. So that is how you can actually change the session cookie. Now, sessions can also be used to provide default data to the request methods. Now, this is done by providing the data to the properties on the session object. Now, what I mean by that is simply, let me just restart this. So we have fresh idle open, import requests. And right here, we're going to create the same session object, which is done by specifying requests.session. Press here enter. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to provide the authentication for our session. Now the authentication we can provide just like this. So s.auth equals, and in between the brackets we'll specify user and comma, specify password as well. So we will just type here user and pass. Press here enter, and all we need to do in order for this to work is to update our headers with desired actual things we want. So basically we need to specify s.headers .update, which is a function that allows us to actually update our own headers, and we will specify in a dictionary like bracket. So open these big brackets, we'll specify test and then colon and then open single quotes once again, and then true. Close the brackets right here. Press here enter, and all we need to do is perform the get request with our headers that we want. So s.get, and all we want to do is perform the get request to this website, the same website as in the previous example. So https://httpbin.org/headers. But before you press here enter, make sure to add comma right here and add the headers to be equal. And then you can specify this that we specified right here, which is test and true. So right here, open single quotes, type here test, comma, and then open single quotes, type here true. Press here enter. Set object. Wait. For header, set object has no attribute items. In which line is the actual error? Let us see right here. s.get headers equal. Well, for some reason this doesn't want to work, but doesn't even matter. We are going to try something differently right now. Let us try, because we can see that the error is somewhere around here. Let us try whether we can actually access the cookies in our headers. Now we can do that just by simply creating a new session object. So s equals requests.session. Let us see if we will get the actual error there. And our R will be equal to get request onto this page, https://httpbin.org/cookies, which is another directory on this website. And then we are going to add comma and then cookies equal, open and close big brackets. Let's specify from my browser as an example. So from my, and then column, and then open single quotes once again, and type here browser. Press here enter. Okay, so right now we didn't get error as we did right here, and let us print our response. So r.text, print it, and we can see cookies from my browser. Okay, so we can see that that works. Let us try whether it will work once we specify something differently. It should work. Copy, paste. Let me enlarge this. Copy, paste, and let's type here once again our good old phrase, which is hello world. So hello world. Press here enter, print r.text once again, and you will see that right now cookies are specified as hello world. Now if you simply just perform the request without specifying the cookies, which is r equals s.get perform, single quotes, https httpbin.org/cookies, press here enter, and if you now print r.text, you will see that the cookies will be an actual empty thing, so we will not have anything specified within the cookie brackets. Now, if you want to manually add cookies to your session, you can use the cookie utility to manipulate session.cookies. Now, sessions can also be used as context managers. For example, you can specify with requests.session, open and close brackets, as s, which is our usual variable for the session. So as s, then specify column, press here enter, s.get, and then you can specify which link you want, which is, for example, https://httpbin.org/cookies/set/session cookie. Oops, I forgot the /session cookie /123456789, which is our cookie. Press here enter, press enter once again, and we can see we got the response 200, which means okay. Okay, so basically that would be about it for sessions. Now, of course, there are lots of other things to talk about with sessions, but this should be more than enough for now. Now, let us take a look at the next thing, which is going to be the request and response object. So basically, we saw how we can actually get the request, but we also saw how we can actually get the headers from our response. But what, for example, if we want to get the headers from our own request? Now, whenever a call is made to request.get, you are doing two major things. First of all, you are constructing a request object which will be sent off to a server to request or query some resource. Second, a response object is generated once request gets a response back from the server. The response object contains all of the information returned by the server, and it also contains the request object you created originally. That's why we can also access our own header. So first of all, let us create a simple request. We know how to do that. So r equals request.get. And let us, for example, get the default Python page. So https ://python.org. Press here enter. Okay, so everything worked perfectly. And now to access the headers from the response, we can simply just type r.headers. And you will see these are all of the response headers that we received from the server. As we can see, server nginx, content type text/HTML, the encoding is UTF-8, we can see the connection keep alive, the cookie is strict transport security, okay, max age, include subdomains, and so on and so on. We got different things right here. But if we want to actually see our own headers that we sent to the actual server, we can do that just by simply specifying r.request.headers, which will prompt us with our own headers that we send to the server. As we can see right here, user agent is set to be equal to Python requests, which is true because we are running the actual request from the Python. We accept encoding, JZip, deflate, connection keep alive, and that is basically all about our own requests. Now, whenever you actually receive a response object from the API call or session call, the request attribute is actually the prepared request that was used. Now, in some cases, you may wish to do some extra work to the body or headers on anything really before sending a request. So maybe you want to moderate your own request before you actually send it to the server. You want to moderate your own headers before you actually send them to the server. Well, you can actually do that. Now, let us take a look at some of the example. Let me just restart this real quick. Idle, open it up. Let us import from requests. Let us import request and session, okay? And let us create the session object, which we know how to create by now. And we can create the request variable to be equal to request. We want to request the post to the URL. Basically, the URL can be anything you really want. Now URL and then comma, you want to specify the data to be equal to data and the headers to be equal to headers. Now, of course, you can actually change the headers if you want to. You can delete special headers if you want to. Let me just press here enter. Yeah, it says URL is not defined because we didn't post any URL. But in order to actually delete the headers, you can simply just type, for example, delete, first of all, pardon me, we need to create the actual prepared of the request object, which we can do just by specifying prepped equals request dot prepare, if I'm not mistaken. Request is not defined. Yeah, request is not defined because we actually didn't specify any URL. Let us specify first of all a URL. Let me paste this, and instead of URL I will simply just type https://python.org. Press here enter. Yeah, data is not defined. Let me just switch this up. Let me delete these two values for now on. How did I copy the URL thing? Doesn't even matter. I will just copy it one more time, and I will delete these two values. Press here enter. Request sent successfully. And now the prepared request, which we will specify as prepped. So prepped equals request.prepare. Press here enter. And now let's say, for example, let me just type here prepped. You will see prepared request. Now let me see if the prepped.text is a thing. Yeah, it doesn't have the attribute text. Okay, doesn't even matter. But if we want to, we can simply just do something with the header, such as delete the content type header, for example. So you can do that just by simply specifying delete prepped.headers. And in between the square brackets, you can simply specify which part of the header you want to delete. In our case, let's say we want to delete content type. Press here enter. Key error, content type. Let me just see what the error is. Let us first of all try to add something to the prepped body. We can do that just by simply specifying hello world. Press here enter, and let's right now try to delete content type. Okay, never mind. This doesn't want to work for some reason. It doesn't even matter. Basically, let us see how we can actually modify the headers by ourselves on the other way, because for some reason modifying it like this doesn't want to work. I will just check it out real quick if this other way will work. So we will import, or from requests, we will import request and session. Let us define the s to be equal to session, just for future example, and let us create a request with our own actual header. So request equals request. Let's perform the get request. Oops. Get request onto the https python.org, and let's add the headers to be equal to, oops, I actually specified, pressed enter before I should, so let me just type here headers equal. Now let's say, for example, let's say we specify connection instead of keep alive. Let's type not alive. Press here enter, and now let us send the request once again. So request, specify right here that it is a get request indeed, comma, then specify the link that we want to, which is https://python.org, and then comma, and we'll simply specify that headers equals to headers. Press here enter, we can see that the request has passed. Now if we just type here request.request.headers, let me just see right here, request, or what was it? Was it request.headers? Yeah, never mind, let's just type here request.text. Oh yeah, that is because we are actually using the request function. It doesn't really work like that, but we did successfully manage to actually change the headers to our own headers. You remember once we actually checked out our own headers with the request.headers function, we saw that the connection was set to be keep alive. And right now we sent the actual request with the headers equal to our own headers, and all we actually changed was the connection to be changed from keep alive to not alive. So basically, that is something you can do as well. Now, of course, you don't really need to change that one. If you don't want to, you can simply change the server, or, pardon me, not the server, in the actual request. You can actually change the URL, you can change the data if you want to, just by simply adding right here data equals and then specifying your own data if you need to. And basically you can change anything you want. So play around with the headers if you want to, and we will continue coding in the next lecture. So hope I see you there, and take care. Bye.